in a second or two when it's 2 o'clock. We'll start recording and call the meeting to order. Okay, are we ready, Renee? All right, 2 o'clock. The November Resident Council open meeting is open. We did approve our meeting minutes of the last session, and these minutes will be in the mailroom and in the library and all the other places that you can always find them online. So it's really good to see this select but lovely audience today. And we thought when we had only elevator 6 that people were having a hard time getting here, but I guess people are still on Thanksgiving break. Anyway, I do want to welcome a number of new people that we've brought into the community in November. And I think only maybe a couple of them are here today, but if you are here, please stand up and let us see your faces so we'll get to know you. First of all, we have Kay and Bill Shover, who know everybody here, especially Wynn. And Bill is one of the founders of the Fiesta Bowl. And Kay walks her little dog every day in a little stroller. So if you see a gal with a little dog walking down the hall, that's her. Frances Murray is another new person who's moved in, and she's a very avid bridge player. And she also has a house in Mexico. So if any of you would like to practice your Spanish, you can talk to Frances. Then we have another Francis, only this one is a guy, Francis, and he doesn't go by Francis, he goes by his second name, which is Coop. So Francis Cooper and Carol Crawford have moved in. Coop is a very interesting guy. He's 132nd Osage Indian, and he was originally brought up on the reservation in Oklahoma. He is a relative of Wild Bill Williams. And Wild Bill Williams founded Williams, Arizona, and also the Williams River is named for him. So we're going to introduce him to Herd Broderick, who all of you know is our cowboy expert for the time being. Then we have Dennis and Barbara Hood, and I think they're another group who have moved in from the neighborhood and know lots of people here already and have been coming in for lunch and dinner, and you're going to get to know them. I will tell you that Dennis went to Berkeley, so he's a little crunchy on the outside. And then we have Suzanne Payne, and Suzanne is here today. And Suzanne, maybe you'll stand up and say hey to all of us. Welcome, Suzanne. She has a husband who is here over in the care center, and she is a retired psychotherapist, so watch out. However, in her past life, she was president of something called the Fun Club. So we know exactly where to get her to work here. Anyway, I would also like to announce today that we had an election for resident council. And the way that goes is people self-nominate to the election committee, which I would like to thank Judy Heidkamp, who's done a terrific job with the election committee. And the way the resident council works is we have 7 members, 3 are elected in 1 year and 4 are elected the second year. So this year we had 3 openings. We're losing Jerry Marshall. Jerry, over there, hey. Tom Ensign, over here, and myself. So the three new people who have submitted their names, I will explain to you that we do not hold an election. This is called a non-competitive election. So the three people who submitted applications to join resident council are now officially becoming members and will start their term on February 1st. So I'd like to introduce them. We have David Lemire, whom many of you may remember from councils and councils and councils. We have someone who has re-upped, Tom Ensign. This was not bad enough. Brought him back. And we do have one new member, and we're very pleased to add another feminine member to our board. So she is new and she's bringing a lot of great ideas with us. I think you guys will remember that we introduced Sue Anderson only a few months ago. Sue was a commander in the Navy and also has a big background in computer science. So we know what we want her to do next year. Our most important thing that we've been doing all month, this month, as you know, is the Employee Appreciation Fund. And we're in the closing week of the EAF campaign. And so I would like to turn it over now to our treasurer, Steve Brown, who's going to give you an update on where we are and what we have to do to finish on top. Steve.
Thanks. Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Thank you. We will not be meeting again until January, so the Employee Appreciation Fund is going to be old news, very soon, when we're 2 months from now. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an update. We're finishing up on Friday, big day, and we still have a lot to do. But to give you a little background, I want to tell you kind of where we've been, have a quiz for you, some things to think about, and then kind of close. So not as long a presentation as we had last time. But as you know, this Employee Appreciation Fund means an awful lot to a lot of people that work here. About 200 of our employees, our hourly employees. And from talking to them, I made a special effort this month to get around and talk to probably now about 20 people. It's amazing how significant this is. I mean, you may take it a little bit for granted and just think about writing that same check we wrote last year, but to them, it's really, really significant. I had people actually get teary-eyed when they started talking about it, which was a surprise when the first one did it, but then it was replicated by several others as well. So we're really making a difference for our hourly employees during the holiday season with what we do. And you'll recall some of the people that I quoted last meeting or during the last few weeks, saying in the case of Tanae, when I asked her, what does it mean to you? She first started talking about all the employees. She said, everybody talks about this, and it really means a lot to everybody, before she started talking about what it meant to her in terms of Christmas gifts for her children, and hopefully this year, maybe a little work on her kitchen. And we all know Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson also teared up for me when he started talking about a couple years ago that the Employee Appreciation Fund check was significant for him in making the final amount due on a unexpected car repair bill that he had, in addition to buying, Christmas gifts and so on. Stories go on and on in terms of what this means to them, but you appreciate that. And I want to just really thank all of you here for what you've done in terms of your generosity to make this a special Christmas season for our employees. Now the quiz. Since it'd be a little anticlimactic to thank a few people 2 months from now, I'd like to thank a few people who are still working on this, and we'll finish up here in a few days. Who do you think is the unsung staff hero of the Employee Appreciation Fund campaign? Billy, yes, great. Everybody knows Billy. Billy a lot of people have said, hey, like your letters, like your flyers. Some of them also said there's too many of them. And I understand that. But Billy's the one that produces all these. You know, I talked to her about how we might design it and she comes up with something. She's fast, she's competent, and she's always positive about it. And it may surprise you that Billy, along with the vast majority of the people that work here, is an hourly employee. So she benefits as well from the Employee Appreciation Fund. How about the unsung resident heroes? This is plural. This is plural. No, resident, other than me. Connie.
Rob Steele.
What about Renee? Renee has helped a lot. Joe has helped a lot. They're not resident, they're staff. Yeah, I should have added them on the first question. Yeah, let's talk about Connie. Connie has spearheaded this effort for several years before me. She's been fantastic. You know, I reached out to her with emails, calls, advice as we moved along. And she gave me, along with Ron, one day they dumped on my front door 2 big boxes of stuff. Okay. And gradually, you know, over the spring and summer, I started going through these and I realized what a wonderful blueprint that they had given me. So Connie is certainly an unsung hero. And then actually some of her predecessors, when the boxes were dropped off, there was stuff in there that Carol Ward had done. There was stuff in there that Larry Poole had done and other people along the way. So there's been a tradition of having the resident council really doing a good job with this activity. Other unsung heroes are Susan. You know, Susan helped me, coach me through this, helped me in our first meeting. I never really met Yannick. And throughout this process, she's been a real encourager for me, being the first time I did this. And then I'd like to thank my wife, who's not here today, but you know, many nights we were stuffing envelopes on the kitchen table and sealing envelopes. And then I can't believe how long it takes to stuff 240 flyers in the mail slots. You know, do that sometime. And some of you have done that often. So she helped a lot. So a big question is, how everybody's asking me this. I've tried to keep it undercover. How much money did we raise? Guesses. 300 dollars or thousand. Okay, good guess. Any other ideas? How much did we raise last year? No, $340,000 we raised last year, a new high. So does that help you discuss, guess anything different this year? 350, Carolyn's optimistic. Today in the bank, and we have 5 more days, we have $340,430 in the account. I just picked up from the lockbox before I came down here 4 additional envelopes and looked at them. I couldn't wait to look at them. Another $5,000. So we're released at $345,000, and we have 5 more days. We have 5 more days. So I don't know if we'll get much higher than 345,000, but it's significant because I talked to Willow this morning and she said, I said, what do you expect the number of employees that are going to be qualifying for this? And she said, probably around 200, but we haven't really done that calculation yet. Last year we had 188. So having some additional dollars is important for the campaign this year. Now, what percentage of IL residents have contributed to date? Last year we had 99%. 86. 90. We have 90%. Now, I'm a little concerned about that. That means that actually we have 24 people in independent living who have yet to donate. Last week and again this week, there will be a special mailing, not for everybody here, but just for the people who haven't contributed. They won't be obnoxious or, you know, it'll be very nice, but just kind of reminder. And I have a couple of people that have already told me checks in the mail, you know, and that sort of thing. So hopefully we'll go beyond 90%. How about in the care center? Care center, last year we had just under 50% of the residents participated. 59%. This, I think, is a new high for the care center. And a lot of people have helped with this. I want to single out Carol Ward and also Rosamund Stern, who have been kind of talking up the Employee Appreciation Fund, and we're very involved here in independent living too. I think they've helped out a lot. Now, what this all says right now, though, is that we're at a level that we're at a level a little higher if you add the $5,000 checks than we were last year. But if you divide it by the fewer number of participants, particularly for independent living, what the results easily tell you is you all have given more on average than you have ever before. Okay, so it's I didn't do the calculation because it changes all the time, but it's at least $100 more per unit or per resident or couple or however you want to call it. Per unit is I guess the best one. So that's a really nice sign, I think, for all of our residents here in terms of their generosity. So thank you. So what is going to be communicated to the people, about 50 people that have yet to donate? This is the message that's going to go out tomorrow. The main key question is, will you join me and other residents in making a donation for our hourly employees? Now, they've hopefully heard about this by now, so it's kind of a reminder. There's not going to be any pressure. There's not going to be any, your name is etched somewhere that you haven't contributed or anything like this, but that's the message, reminding them of December 1st and make their check out. And the last week's mailing to the people that haven't donated and this week's also have a name and phone number. Because I realize some of these people maybe could use a little help or might need some assistance in getting their check down to the concierge or whatever it may be. So, and I have had a couple calls as a result of that last week. So that's good news. So what's going to happen then after this Friday? Well, after this Friday, on Monday, I will tell accounting and human resources how big the pot is. And they will also then know how many residents are eligible for the EAF check. They'll make their calculations and then they'll the accounting writes the checks for all 200 or so employees. And then Susan has to work signing all these checks probably on Wednesday and Thursday.
It's not
Susan.
work.
And
It's
then
a pleasure.
on Friday, about 10 days from now or a week from this Friday is the big employee holiday party for the hourly employees. And this year I found out today it's going to be held in this room. At that time, each of those employees will personally get their check given to them by a resident. And we'll have the resident council members there. And also we'll have a couple of people like Ed is happening and Sandy Dobbins is helping. So we'll have a good group there together from 11 to 12 to give out the checks personally. So that's kind of how it'll all wind down. There'll be a final report, in terms of our results. And I'm unsure if it'll be too old a news that we won't report anything in January or not, but we'll wrap it up at that time. But it's been a fantastic, personally, it's been a fantastic experience. I've grown to appreciate so many people, and I had a lot of people call me and ask questions and so on, and got to know some people a little bit better. But thank you to the resident council and to you for allowing me to be the facilitator for all this. It was a lot of fun.
Great work, isn't it? Also, this weekend, I got an email. I don't know if you know this, but we, the chairman of the resident councils of all the 10 Vs, we don't exactly know each other, but we do have an email group. And I got an email from one of them, and he said, everybody at his location wants to know why it's not deductible. And they are just starting their campaign. I don't know when they give it out, if they're just starting their campaign, but anyway, so he got 9 other emails back that say you have to be a 501c organization in order to make it deductible. So that just goes to show you how generous the people here are. We not only contribute a great deal of money to the foundation, $350,000 is a lot of money to collect in a month. I mean, everyone here should be very, very proud of themselves. And we do it out of the goodness of our hearts, because the kids or grown-ups who work for us, they do it out of the goodness of their hearts too. I mean, they don't just think of this as a job, I don't think. They're so kind to us as residents. So if you want to write another check, I'm sure that Steve would be glad to pick up any little tidbits that you have lying around at home. However, we do have some reports today. And we're going, as we always do, in alphabetical order. So we're going to start off with Bob Griffin and the Art Committee, and he has a few things to say about our new decor.
Still trying to process that going to Berkeley gives you a crunchy skin.
I can't be responsible for everything.
Good afternoon, everybody, and everybody hopefully who is on 1960. Oops, sorry. Good afternoon. Is that better? Good afternoon, everybody, and hopefully a lot on 1960. The last quarter of the year is always a very busy time for Art Committee and for artists, and this year certainly is no exception. The annual wreath workshops run by Joe Matthews and Ginger Bushman are always popular, and happily this year we had 5 new residents trying their hand at it. In all, 12 fall wreaths and 10 holiday wreaths were constructed. The Art Committee hosted a table at the Halloween Spook Parade held in the main lobby, which is always a joy. And I'm not sure who enjoys it more, the kids or the adults. It really is a funny thing to watch these little kids. And sometimes some of the adults. This year's Fall Festival Sale of Arts and Crafts was also held on the main floor in several venues off the lobby due to the ongoing construction down here on the ground floor. Again, we were very happy to welcome many of our newer residents, and in spite of a little crowding, I think everybody was pleased with the outcome. And as a bonus, a number of fall and holiday wreaths constructed in prior years were sold, with proceeds of about $250 being donated to the foundation's scholarship fund. As I hope you noticed during the tours of the new dining venues and subsequently the resident art gallery, formerly called the Cafe Art Wall, which is right out that door, is back in business. We're hosting some of the fall and holiday wreaths that were made by residents during the October workshops. In the Care Center, we're showing a collection of photographs of interesting and beautiful churches taken by residents, arranged by Marion Kokenauer and appropriately called We Gather Together. For December, the Care Center wall will feature celebrations from around the world. Meanwhile, back in the lodge, we continue to cross our fingers and hope that Yannick will find some additional exhibit space to replace the piano foyer art wall, which now graces a giant TV screen, and to build a new curio cabinet for collections and 3-dimensional art pieces. We don't know yet what's going to happen there. On a sad note, I want to mark the passing of Bill Matthews, who was one of our newer residents and a member of the Art Committee. Hopefully you were able to view the exhibit of his absolutely terrific photography that was featured on the Cafe Art Wall in February of this year. And finally, and I'm sorry Yannick isn't here to receive this personally, you may recall in January of this year, in connection with the remodeling plans that we were working on at that point, we prepared a special request and a comprehensive report on 3 important art pieces that we urged Yannick to save. 2 signed bronze sculptures, the beautiful Indian maiden that graces the main lodge in the main foyer in the lodge, and the charming little boy who is reading his book at the foot of the front of the residence library, along with a very unique collection of ceramic and bronze wind chimes called Cosanti bells. The jury is still out on the fate of the 2 statues on the main floor, As for the wind chimes, they used to be on a wall behind the coffee service in the cafe, where they were often overlooked, even by me. I didn't realize they were there, didn't pay much attention to them, and certainly underappreciated. Well, Yannick, wherever you are, you've outdone yourself by not merely saving them, but making them the center of attention to everyone who enters the Alpenglow dining room, featured by themselves and wonderfully arranged on a brilliant white wall and utilizing new metal hangers and spaced out better. They really are stunning. So on behalf of all the V residents, I salute Yannick and thank him. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Well, Yannick swore to me that all three of those things were sacred. So let's keep our fingers crossed. That's correct. And we said that Tom Ensign would chain himself to the spirit woman if that's what it took. Anyway, so we have our grounds and buildings person who is going to give a little discussion about what's going on here, but I believe that this is the very last time that he's going to be allowed to wear his hard hat. So Ed Vickers.
Okay, I'm going to start off a little different today. Today, we're going to give a big round of appreciation to our V team that guided us through this construction period of 18 to 20 weeks through many, many challenges and difficult times. But not only them, our home office that had the courage to come down and find a local design company that gave us the vision for our remodel, which we've just completed phase one, but we got 2 more to go. But it will be all inclusive throughout the whole complete project. And not last but least, the construction company that was chosen for the project and completed it nearly on target with amazing things. So please join me and let's give them all a everybody. Now, as we move out of the construction period, our contractor has left a very, very extremely high bar in our first phase. One that I hope as we move back into normal times that our dining and culinary teams will take the challenge to bring their departments up to that same level. So now on to B&G things. Okay, landscaping, golf course opened last Monday. It's slow. The guys are going to continue dropping the cutting down until they get to the final cutting level, and then it'll be rolled. So the speeds will continue to get better, as will probably our scores, hopefully. We had 169 rounds of golf in October, even though we were closed for half of the month. Also, those of you that are in the lagoon, Robert has promised that after the reseeding project is completed and the extra watering will come back down to normal, they're going to go down and see what they can do in that area to kind of get it from being marshy to at least being, you can walk on it without sinking. Over in resident services, Jason's done a wonderful job. You've probably noticed we have a new service, some additional service in the salon. There's these up in the mailroom. If you'll stop in and check with Pesha, she would appreciate it. And we also have a couple of the replacement chairs that are on order, but evidently they're very long lead items, so they're still in work. The housekeeping team has spent most of their month working on getting the dining facilities ready for us to move into them. So most of their time has been spent on that. Engineering, we've had a couple really good things that happen. We've had our seam company come in and take care of most of the, let's call them the worst of the worst seams in the area. And we've got our fingers crossed. We're hoping that the hallways will be our next phase of the remodel, and we'll get that taken care of completely by then. We've had a couple other projects, the red curbs all around have been taken care of. We've got one more well. The pond has been at least, I think, on almost consistently now. The water's running. The lights are coming on and going off when they're supposed to. So I think that's good. But there's going to be an asphalt replacement project that's going to be on our 76th Street entrance. And Robert said it's probably going to be sometime in December. He'll get a notice out, but it's going to be like from about garage 6 of the rear garages all the way out to 76th Street when it's getting done. So that's where we're at, and hope you all had a good Thanksgiving and looking forward to a great holiday season.
Thanks, Ed. Well, Steve got to ask a quiz question, so I get to ask one too. Who doesn't like the new remodeled dining room? Okay, everybody else applaud. It's great, isn't it? I mean, I think it just turned out better than maybe we all expected. It really looks beautiful. And as far as the art goes, we're really fine. So in the dining room, not the only thing that's there are beautiful tables and chairs, but we do have food. So I think now we better hear from the dining committee, who's been working with corporate and chef to do some new things. So Mary Lemire, will you tell us what we're going to be eating?
Good afternoon. Make sure I see it. First of all, the committee wants to give a big thank you to all the staff involved in facilitating the opening reception for these new venues. Such a popular event that additional tours were offered and filled. Residents really appreciated seeing the new spaces and getting answers to so many of their questions. Now I would like to urge everyone to start using these beautiful spaces. This past week, not as many residents came down as expected. I know many of you were concerned about coming down this first week. Large numbers will mean that staff, both in service and in the kitchen, can be trained more effectively. As always, please be patient as they ease into these new workspaces. A few notes from our November meeting. As far as takeout orders are concerned, please do contact staff right away if anything has gone amiss in your order. They sincerely want to know, and they want to make it right. Management also uses these situations as training opportunities. Please don't think of it as bothering someone. We discussed some nutritional requirements with Chef Chris. He confirmed that the portion of protein you're receiving with your meal should be at least 4 ounces. I know we've gotten reports of giant steaks, but we've also gotten reports of very small offerings. So that's what you should be getting. Let's see. We also discussed the decision to put a TV in the bar area. I will tell you this was a design decision made by the home office. The committee was unaware and had no input. The dining staff will have sole control of the remote, and the TV will be muted unless a planned particular event is being celebrated, such as a Super Bowl. We revisited the subject of comment cards. Greg agreed that the cards can be submitted anonymously as long as they are constructive and polite. Just writing your meat was tough or your service was not up to par doesn't really help them improve. Please remember that the Dining and Culinary Committee would also like to hear from you as well with any praise or difficulties. We discussed the fact that management is considering how to best move away from the typical buffet Sunday brunch. They're going to try to change to a sit-down model. This would both cut down on waste and staff time spent assembling and taking down the setup. I'm not sure everyone appreciates how much time goes into moving all those tables in the cafe, setting up all those tables in the cafe, cleaning all the equipment for the buffet. The attendance really doesn't justify the effort or the waste. And so hopefully the sit down will be a popular situation. Let's see. Now I'd like to try and answer some of the questions I've heard. Breakfast service began in the pair starting today. Please come down and give it a try. It's an interesting, very well-priced menu. Many of us were used to picking up soup from the old cafe. While walk-up, pick-up, full-service orders are no longer permitted from the cafe, soup takeouts will be. The $7 delivery fee for meals to lodge residents will resume this week. Takeout pickup will be located for the time being in the hallway near Greg Beckley's office. Management has informed the committee that residents and that reservations and formal dress defined according to the dress code in the handbook are now required for both lunch and dinner in the Alpenglow. Please review these guidelines. It's very hard for staff to have to address any difficult situation in this regard. And please remember to inform your family and guests when they are coming to this venue. Also, please be on time for your reservations and please cancel when you cannot make it. Residents may stop by the bar for a drink to take a drink with them into either venue. Tentatively, the private dining room will be open for reservations up to 12 people after December 17th. Eventually, both hot and cold tea service will be reinstated, but you can currently ask any cafe service for those during hours of operation. Currently, ice water is available in pitchers at the coffee station. I was also asked to remind residents that the pair is not a full-service model. Food will be sent out from the kitchen as it is prepared. A resident ordering, for example, a well-done burger should expect to receive their entree at perhaps a different time from a resident ordering a more quickly prepared item, even if they came in together. Our January meeting is scheduled for January 3rd. The committee will now be meeting in the card room at the same 1 o'clock time. Thank you.
Wow, we forgot so much of that, didn't we? I think when they say formal, though, it does not mean black tie. So don't worry about it, just means long pants and maybe a collared shirt. Anyway, we have the other half of the Lemire team here, and it wouldn't be a meeting if we didn't hear about finance. So David, come and tell us what we're spending our money on.
Okay, did I have that right this time? No. I can't Pick it up. All right, is that better? All right, is that, yeah, okay. Well, I hope everyone had a happy and delicious Thanksgiving. Apparently, some folks are still at grandma's house. But as we come to the close of our fiscal year, your committee's attention has been largely on the 2024 operating and capital budgets, but we also have been paying attention to current year's results. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those to you now. First, on the operating budget side, as a reminder, the 2023 net operating income budget was $3,463. That's about as close to break even as you could get. At the end of October, we have net operating income of about $546,000 versus a plan of 77. The plan changes month to month, and it would be going from 77 at the end of October to that $3,500 figure I mentioned by year end. But Michelle Showalter, our Director of Accounting, expects the 546,000 to drop to about 245,000 by year end. Due to some Medicare occupancy changes in the care center, independent living occupancy shortfalls, and the cost of holiday parties for both residents and employees. Now, we saved money this year by not having the anniversary party and due to the construction, but we're over budget on some other supply costs. But even with all of that, $246,000 is a heck of a lot more than $3,500. So how did we get there? When you take into account all the budget overages and savings for the year, the biggest single contributor to the extra income is the performance in the care center, especially in the skilled nursing unit. The IL is missing its budget this year, while the care center is significantly generating extra surplus. We hope some of that superior performance is reproducible and actually gets built into next year's fee increase, which you'll hear about tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit about capital projects. Through the end of October, the capital item replacement reserve, CIRR, is about $3.9 million in the red. And we have another about 1 million of costs to come in on the dining venues. So as I discussed last month, this is going to be an interest-free loan from ownership. And it's going to take a number of years for us to get back to break even to that point where we're actually putting more money into the CIRR than we're taking out every month. It's going to be a multi-year type of a project. Neither the Finance Committee nor the Resident Council meets in December. So I'll next report to you in January at the open council meeting when we'll have unaudited full year results. In the meantime, this past month's minutes are in the library in the mail room and posted on the community website. The January Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for January the 18th at 1:30 in the card room. And on behalf of the committee, we wish to you and yours the happiest of holiday seasons. Respectfully submitted, David Lemire.
Thanks, David. Well, let's see. Bob G. took care of beauty. Ed Vickers took care of our homes. Mary took care of our stomachs. David took care of our pocketbooks. So now our last report today is going to be Carol Steele from the Library Committee, who's going to take care of our minds.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to clarify something. No, my bell does not ring. You can imagine what it would have been like as a teacher or a librarian to go around all day long jangling in everybody's ears, including my own. That would have driven me nuts. So I'm very happy to have a silent bell. It may be trite, but it does take a village to keep our library shipshape. We have a group of tireless volunteers who meet in the library on Thursdays from 12 to 12:30 to attend to various duties. And my fabulous team includes Bonnie Kerr, Diana Oliphant, Edie Randall, Eve Simon, Janet Elliott, and Linda Wade. And many thanks to Joe Matthews, Billy Wall, and our V drivers who never turned down a request to help us from providing boxes to labels to delivering donations or anything else we might need. And Joan White continues to brighten our space with her beautiful seasonal flower arrangements. Our library collection is entirely composed of donations from our residents. We continue to be astonished at your depth and generosity. You're the reason we can provide an awesome library experience for you and your neighbors. We've got 2 fun bookshelves located just to the left as you enter the library that with the catchy label, Book Club. And they hold books from our V Book Club that we have we've read in the past or reading currently. And so many of you may have read those titles and then donate them to the library, or you heard about them and would like to read them. So they're there for you. If you wish to donate books to the library, please put them in the wooden book return box. We prefer books that are no more than 5 years old, with some exceptions for popular authors. Duplicate titles are taken to the Care Center library, and books we can't use are donated to the Foothill Animal Rescue Boutique. In case you haven't visited the library recently, we have around 3,000 books on CDs and DVDs in our collection. We've got large collections of nonfiction titles, biographies, fiction, and mysteries, and small sections of books about Arizona, drama, short stories, art, and religion. Also a section of large print books. To the right of the stuffed chairs, there's a shelf labeled volunteer picks, which include books that our library volunteers really enjoy reading. And below that shelf are 2 shelves called newly donated, which are books that have recently arrived in our library, and we put them there in case you don't want to be looking at the shelves for something that's new. We have a very important shelf called Authors of Interest, which is located to the right of the paperbacks. And it includes books by our very own V resident authors and local authors who've appeared in our community. And I want to give a big thanks to Terry Brown for donating a book written by our recent Holocaust lecturer, Eddie Zilber, entitled A Holocaust Memoir of Love and Resilience, Mama's Survival from Lithuania to America. I imagine many of you attended her lecture and it got rave reviews. So that will be on the Authors of Interest shelf if you're interested in reading it. In the library, we also have 2 computers and a printer for residents' use, as well as a low vision reader. The library committee or Billy can help you with their use. We have 3 daily newspapers to enjoy reading in the library: the Arizona Republic, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times. If you wish to have a copy of an article or a puzzle, Billy can copy it for you. And if you have current magazines you want to share, just place them on the large table and they're free to everyone for the taking. The Care Center Library was recently renovated, and it provides now a cozy space for our assisted living residents. Bonnie Kerr and I have spent many hours there organizing that collection. We have one more task, which will involve engineering, changing the location of some of the shelves to provide better access for residents. After that's done, then we'll prepare labels for those shelves. And I have a shameless plug. If you haven't attended a book club meeting, please consider it. We meet in the Alcatia room on the 3rd Wednesday of the month at 10:30. The list of selections for next year will soon, hopefully, be located on our community website under Updates, Important Information, 2024 Book Club list. You don't have to read the book to attend our discussion. And if you wish to be on the email list, just let me know, since I'm the book club chair until the end of the year. I'm very happy to report that I'm passing the chairmanship reins to 2 wonderful residents, Louise Thorson and Eileen Hackenyos. They're going to capably manage our group in 2024, and we'll be hosting 2 authors in person as well as a Zoom call with another. We'll put out notices to the community for those events, since everyone will be welcome to join us. We will not have a meeting in December due to the proximity to the holidays. So if you have any questions about library or book club, feel free to don't hesitate to contact me. And one last thing. A young man walked into a library looking for a book that would improve his physical affection skills. He took out a book called How to Hug. He was disappointed when he got home and realized that he had checked out volume 6 of the Oxford English Dictionary. Thank you.
That's a book club joke. Anyway, well, that takes care of our reports today. But we have our wonderful management staff over here, and Melanie, they've been talking a lot about the care center today. So tell us the things we didn't hear.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Melanie Bartola, the administrator in the Care Center. Kind of following lead from some other folks today. I hope everyone had an enjoyable Thanksgiving and have plans for a nice holiday season ahead. And I would like to personally thank the residents for your generosity and appreciation given to staff, not only in the Care Center, but throughout the community. It really means a lot. I'm pleased to share a recent recognition from the U.S. News and World Report that came out in November, that we achieved the 2024 Best Nursing Home recognition for a skilled nursing facility. Viet Greyhawk earned the highest rating possible of high performing this year. This publication is based on U.S. News's in-depth analysis of public available data, as well as other information that's not factored into things like the CMS 5-star rating, which we are also a 5-star rated Medicare facility. Only 19% of SNFs or skilled nursing facilities in the United States earn a high performing rating, so we're very proud. We should be wrapping up our capital project of the lifestyle space in the Care Center within the next week. There was a small delay on the table and chair installation, but that has not stopped us from keeping an engaging program for different events throughout the month. We had an increased use of our alternate space, which is the AL multi-purpose room located right by the library. So we've been using that a lot more and have been really fortunate to have that space to do our activities in. One of the new programs we're hosting is called Mingle with a Manager. Autumn Davis came up with that. And what that is each month, a different manager will lead an activity and have the opportunity to engage with the residents on a more personal level, while allowing the residents to get to know the management team. Our first Mingle with a Manager event featured Cindy Backus, our new assisted living manager, who led a session on making keychains out of wine corks. And they weren't drinking wine, bottles and bottles of wine. Maybe they wanted to. And also a conversation on world travel, which was a really nice, well-attended event. So we'll be hosting different managers in the coming months, and we're excited about that. We continue to focus on our recruiting efforts in the Care Center. Our opportunity remains among our CNA, our nursing assistant staff. We've made a lot of progress on our nurses, our RNs, and our LPNs, with just one full-time open nurse position available. And we've also really increased our on-call staff. So we have more of our own trained staff to be able to pull from when we have open shifts. We're definitely remaining focused on that through the remainder of the year, and hoping to start in an even better spot next year. We hosted a COVID vaccine clinic in November. And we continue to have the flu vaccine available for Care Center residents throughout the flu season. We did have a little harder time getting a vendor to come in for that COVID vaccine on a smaller setting, but we were able to host a good clinic in the month of November. In closing, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the round table on Friday. Renee put that out. We have the round table on Friday at 2:00. I've already started to receive some questions for that. So I think answering some of those questions will benefit all of the residents. So appreciate those. I know the deadline's on the memo for the time to submit questions. So if you have more, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Just to remind people here that this year, I think, has been the most number of IL residents moving to AL. Is that about right, Melanie? Yeah. And lots and lots of our friends are over now in assisted living. So don't forget about them. Include them in your dinner plans in the future. They can come over here and have dinner here. So just a reminder that we need people on the Care Center committee to do regular visiting, but you can always go over. So we would like to remember to see our friends. Yannick is having a town hall meeting tomorrow at 3:30 so that it doesn't conflict with the bridge players. And in his stead today, he has sent us someone who is practicing for their his and Melanie's town hall. That's going to be what, Friday, right? Oh, you're not in that one. Okay, well, he's got one that he's practicing for anyway. So, Jason Helvai is going to talk about transportation and other resident services.
Hello, everybody. Oh, no problem. I'm recording here. I know we're running out of time, so I will try to be concise here. I had a few questions that Susan was kind enough to send me that I said that I would cover here, and I'll start with just generally what the overall kind of duties that I cover are here in the community as the Resident Services Director. And so many of you may know, but if you don't, the departments that I directly oversee, meaning the staff for my direct reports, are the security team, the concierge team, the valet team, as well as the wellness center, which is where Jen Prickett serves, and you all know her very well. So additionally, I also provide support to Yannick on the day-to-day operations, as well as the other cabinet members as well. So you can kind of consider me as the catch-all, that if you have any questions, concerns, any thoughts, you can come and see me. And if I can't help you, I'm happy to connect you with the person who can, or provide whatever level of support I can in that aspect. And one of my other primary duties as well is serving as the chair of the Resident Evaluation Committee, which is an interdisciplinary team that looks how to support with, collaborate residents who do need to transition to the care center, have interest, or maybe not ready to transition, but need support in other areas. And that's something that we work with closely, in residents and their families if they so choose. And I thought that would be good to mention, because one of the next questions that was brought up for me was, what is the process for somebody who would like to transition from independent living to assisted living or other venues in the care center? And the short answer here is there's no really black and white method for this, because each person's experience is going to be uniquely individual, depending on what their particular medical situation is, their health status, or just their general interest in what venue they're looking at and what level of support they do need. But really what we're doing is we're talking to that person. It's intended to be communicative. We're working with you and any other individuals that you would like to be involved in that process. We're looking at a timeline. We're looking at the urgency based on the level of assistance that's needed. Is there any concern to health or safety, and what we can do before a transition to support you if that's not really the ultimate goal that that person is looking at. So once that really gets to that point, we're talking to Jen, we're talking to Jennifer Brown in the care center, and we're really coordinating, when does that person go, where are they going, and what does that look like for them. Again, I wish I could give you a check sheet of what that looks like, but it would really be doing a disservice, because since I've been here, no one person's experience has really been the same. And that really should be the intention if we're looking at a holistic approach, where what does that person need? What does it look like for them? How should they go through that process? And again, I know I'm running short here out of respect for time, but please feel free to come by my office and talk to me, email me, call me. I certainly don't mind having a one-on-one conversation with you, or small groups if you feel like you need a little bit more information or detail on what exactly that looks like. And so lastly, I'll talk about valet, because that was really the last department I was asked to discuss. And one of the questions was, do we have a lead valet similar to having a lead concierge at the desk, such as Rose? The answer is yes. So many of you know Hines, who's been here for the better part of a decade at this point in time. He is our lead valet. And so you can consider him as the equivalent to Rose at the desk. And he collaborates with Rose and myself as well to make sure that scheduling is on time and training is up to par, and just working with people as events come up if we need to do something a little bit different. And he communicates with me regularly on a daily basis, weekly basis, or as really is needed. And the other question is, what kind of training do valet receive? And really every department, not just valet, has a checklist of expectations and duties that we would like someone to be proficient in before they're really released on their own to work with you all and work with the community as a whole. Valet is no different. So we have items that we really want them to know, but a part of that is also shadowing an experienced staff member. So working side by side and one-on-one until that person feels comfortable enough to venture out on their own. And then at that point, it's, as with all of our employees, it's an ongoing evaluation process. What's going well? What do you need a little bit more support with? How can we help you to be a more well-rounded employee? Again, that's not unique just to valet. That's really any of our team members, but I thought I would address it since it was one of the questions that was brought up to me. Okay, that's my short version. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. Why don't I let Renee answer this one here?
The question was, where is the piano? Where is it going to stay from here on out? We actually sold it to help up make money for our deficit. So no more piano. Actually, it's actually living in our Ocotillo room closet, and that's where it's going to be. And we are going to make a real effort on a monthly basis to bring it out and have entertainment either here in the Ocotillo room or maybe a little bit closer to the double door, so that way you can bally up to the bar and listen to some entertainment. But as of right now, it's going to stay in the Ocotillo room. We have a cover for it, so it's well protected. But yeah, that's where it's going to be, Mr. Bushman.
All right, any other last questions for me? Yes.
I guess the question is, are we okay giving Manny a greeting card on his upcoming wedding? Does that
Just kind of
violate-
an
Just a
appreciation card.
Just a card that wishes him and his bride well.
I don't think there would be any particular issue with that as long as there's not a monetary gift attached to that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
All right, any last questions? Yes. To the rose?
Yeah, what happens to the rose?
Oh, yeah, well,
So the question is, what's going to happen to the memorial rose when a resident passes? Since the piano is living in the Ocotillo room for this time being, right now, me and Yannick are kind of discussing some options, but what we're going to do for the is put the rose up in the information center. So we're going to find we're actually going to purchase a small table, and a picture and a rose will go up in the information center when a resident passes.
all right. I know we're a little past, so any last questions before I turn it over back to Susan Rourke here? All right, thank you.
What you guys probably don't know is that Jason does all the interfacing with the families of someone who has passed. So before we can put a rose and a picture out, we have to get permission from the family to announce that. And Jason does all of that, and it's a very delicate job. At any rate, thanks a lot, Jason and Melanie. And for the rest of us, the few that are here and the hundreds that are out there on 1960, I want to just wrap up by saying we are not going to have a meeting in December, but we will be back again in 2024 with a handover meeting from the 2023 council and giving our responsibilities over to the 2024 council. So thank you all very much for coming today. I thought it was a real good meeting. We got a lot of interesting information. So please come back. Thanks a lot.